Ladies and gentlemen, we all dream of success. We work tirelessly, face challenges, and fight our battles to reach our goals. But let's take a moment and think. What stands between us and the success we crave? Is it the lack of resources? The right connections? No. The real enemies of success are within us. They are the voices in our heads, the doubts in our hearts, and the fear that paralyzes us. Let me share with you some of these silent but powerful enemies that keep us from achieving our dreams. The first enemy, fear. Fear is the loudest enemy. It whispers, "What if you fail?" It shows you the worst case scenarios and drags you into a dark room of self-doubt. But fear is a liar. Fear wants to keep you comfortable in your little box, away from the greatness you are capable of. And the worst part, we listen to it. We let fear dictate our lives. But let me tell you something. Success never lives in your comfort zone. It exists on the other side of fear, where courage takes over. Fear is a liar. It is one of the most powerful emotions that can stop you in your tracks, paralyze you, and make you question every decision you ever made. Fear doesn't discriminate. It doesn't care how strong, talented, or capable you are. It whispers, sometimes loudly, sometimes quietly, in your ear that you're not good enough, that you're not ready, that you're going to fail. It paints a picture of doom, failure, and regret, convincing you that the risks are too high to take, the dream too impossible to reach. But in truth, fear is nothing more than a liar. It doesn't tell you the truth about who you are, what you're capable of, or the incredible potential that lies within you. Fear is often the first emotion we experience when faced with something new, something challenging, or something that pushes us beyond our comfort zone. It can be the fear of failure, the fear of rejection, the fear of making a mistake. And because fear is so deeply ingrained in us, it becomes a natural response to anything that seems unfamiliar or uncertain. But we must understand that this natural response isn't an indicator of our worth, our abilities, or our likelihood of success. Fear is simply an emotional reaction to the unknown, a defense mechanism that is designed to keep us safe, but also keeps us from reaching the heights we are meant to achieve. What happens when we listen to fear? We stay stuck, we stay in the same place, playing it safe, avoiding challenges, and missing out on opportunities. We become complacent in the safety of what is familiar, never taking the risks that are necessary for growth. We let fear dictate the boundaries of our lives, and in doing so, we limit our potential. Fear tells us to stay small, to stay within the confines of what we know, and in doing so, we never get to experience the greatness that exists just beyond those boundaries. Fear in its most powerful form tries to convince us that if we take risks, if we step out of our comfort zones, we will fail. It promises us that we will fall flat on our faces, that our dreams will shatter into a million pieces, and that we will never recover. But is that true? Is failure really the end of the world? Is it the worst thing that could happen? No. In fact, failure is one of the best teachers we will ever have. It's through failure that we learn, grow, and become better versions of ourselves. Failure isn't the enemy, it's simply part of the process. When we let fear control us, we miss out on the opportunities that come with failure. Every time we fail, we have the chance to try again, to learn from our mistakes, to adjust our approach, and to become stronger. But fear wants us to believe that failure is permanent, that one mistake will ruin everything. It's a lie. Failure is temporary. The real failure is in never trying, in never stepping up to the challenge, in never taking the risk that could lead to something extraordinary. Another way fear keeps us trapped is by convincing us that we are not good enough. It tells us that we don't have what it takes, that others are more qualified, more talented, or more deserving of success than we are. But that too is a lie. Fear plays on our insecurities, preying on our doubts and vulnerabilities. It makes us question our abilities, our worth, and our value. But deep down, we know that this isn't the truth. We know that we have something special to offer, that we have unique strengths and talents that the world needs. Fear is simply trying to distract us from that truth, trying to make us believe that we are not worthy of the success we dream of. The truth is that everyone who has ever achieved anything significant in life has had to face fear. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't isn't the absence of fear. It's the ability to act in spite of it. Fear may always be there, lurking in the background, whispering its lies, but the most successful people in the world have learned how to ignore it, how to push past it, and how to keep moving forward despite it. They understand that fear is a natural part of the process, and that it's not something to be avoided, but something to be embraced. Imagine for a moment that you are standing on the edge of a cliff, looking out at the vast ocean below. There is a part of you that wants to jump, to dive into the unknown, to take that leap of faith. But there is another part of you, the fearful part, that holds you back. It tells you that you're not ready, that it's too dangerous, that you could get hurt. And in that moment, you have a choice. You can either listen to that fear and stay where you are, never knowing what it feels like to soar, or you can choose to take the leap, knowing that while the outcome is uncertain, it is the only way to truly grow. Fear will always try to convince you that the leap isn't worth it, that the risk is too great, that you're better off staying where you are. But in truth, the real risk is in never taking that leap at all. The real danger is in allowing fear to dictate your life, to prevent you from taking the steps that could lead to something incredible. Because success, growth, and fulfillment never come from playing it safe. They come from stepping into the unknown, from taking risks, from embracing fear and doing it anyway. Overcoming fear doesn't mean that it will disappear completely. Fear is a part of being human, and it will always be present to some extent. But what we can do is change our relationship with fear. Instead of allowing it to control us, we can choose to face it head on. We can acknowledge its presence, but not let it stop us from pursuing our dreams. We can understand that fear is not a signal to retreat, but a signal that we are on the right path, that we are moving in the direction of something important, something worthwhile. It's important to remember that fear doesn't define us. Fear is just a feeling. And like all feelings, it is temporary. It's our actions that define us. It's what we do in the face of fear that shows who we really are. Are we the kind of people who run away from challenges, who let fear decide our future? Or are we the kind of people who face fear head on, who move forward despite the uncertainty, who refuse to let fear hold us back from the life we deserve? When we allow fear to dictate our lives, we give it power over us. But when we choose to take action despite fear, we take that power back. We reclaim control over our own destiny. We decide that we are stronger than our fears, that our dreams are bigger than our doubts. We choose to rise above the lies that fear tells us, and we move forward with courage, knowing that we are capable of achieving the success we desire. So the next time fear tries to hold you back, remember this: it is a liar. It will try to tell you that you're not enough, that you're not ready, that you're going to fail, but don't believe it. Recognize it for what it is, just a feeling that will pass, and then take the leap. Move forward. Do it afraid, because on the other side of fear is everything you've ever wanted. Fear is not the enemy. It is simply the challenge that will make you strong. Embrace it, face it, and move beyond it. The second enemy is self-doubt. Self-doubt is like a shadow that follows you wherever you go. It convinces you that you're not enough, that you're not worthy of success. But here's the truth. The only person who can limit your potential is you. Every time you doubt yourself, you give away your power. Success is born when you start to believe in yourself, even when no one else does. And in this self-belief, you start to develop self-love for yourself, even when no one else does. Remember, the greatest people in history weren't successful because they never doubted themselves, but because they didn't let those doubts define them. Self-doubt is a silent enemy that sneaks into our minds and undermines our potential. It's insidious, creeping in when we're most vulnerable, telling us that we aren't good enough, that we don't have what it takes, that others are more deserving of success. It's an internal battle that many of us face, even the most accomplished and confident among us. Self-doubt doesn't just affect our thoughts. It paralyzes us, stops us from taking action, and keeps us from realizing the power we hold within ourselves. At its core, self-doubt is a reflection of our insecurities, our fears, and our past experiences. It's a voice that often originates from a place of comparison, from seeing others succeed and thinking, why not me? It tells us that we're not capable, that we don't have the right skills, the right knowledge, or the right circumstances to succeed. But the truth is, self-doubt is not based on fact. It is based on perception. It is a product of the stories we tell ourselves, often false stories that we've internalized over time. When we give in to self-doubt, we relinquish our power. We allow it to dictate our choices, to steer our decisions, and to limit our potential. It convinces us that the risks are too great, that failure is inevitable, and that it's better to stay in the comfort of what we know than to step out and take a chance. But what we fail to realize is that self-doubt does not protect us. It only holds us back. It creates a barrier between us and the life we want to live, keeping us trapped in a cycle of inaction and missed opportunities. Self-doubt thrives in the absence of belief. When we don't trust ourselves, when we don't believe in our abilities, we give power to our doubts and we let them shape our reality. This belief in our own inadequacy comes from many places: society's expectations, comparison to others, or past failures that we can't seem to let go of. But it's important to recognize that these beliefs are not truths. They are narratives we've constructed, often based on moments of weakness or fear. And if we can change the way we view ourselves, if we can shift our mindset from one of self-doubt to one of self-belief, we unlock the potential for greatness. One of the most damaging aspects of self-doubt is that it can lead to perfectionism. When we doubt ourselves, we feel the need to do everything perfectly to avoid making any mistakes at all. We believe that if we fail, it will be a reflection of our inadequacy, a confirmation of the doubts we have about ourselves. But perfectionism is a trap. It keeps us stuck in a cycle of overthinking, hesitation, and avoidance. We waste so much time trying to make everything flawless that we never actually take the leap, never put ourselves out there, and never allow ourselves the chance to grow and learn from our experiences. Perfectionism is rooted in fear. The fear that if we don't do everything perfectly, we won't be good enough, we won't be accepted, we won't succeed. But the truth is that no one is perfect, no one has all the answers, and no one achieves success without making mistakes along the way. The real growth happens in those moments of imperfection. When we stumble, learn, and adjust, perfectionism holds us back from taking risks, from pushing the boundaries, and from showing up fully in our lives. It keeps us on the sidelines waiting for the perfect moment that never comes. What we need to realize is that self-doubt and perfectionism are not signs of weakness. They are just temporary states of mind. They don't define who we are or what we are capable of, and they certainly don't dictate the outcome of our efforts. The truth is that the most successful people are not the ones who never doubted themselves. They are the ones who didn't let their self-doubt stop them. They moved forward in spite of it, knowing that action would lead to progress, and progress would eventually lead to success. The key to overcoming self-doubt is to develop a deeper sense of self-belief. We have to learn to trust ourselves and our abilities, even when the voice of doubt is loud in our heads. We have to recognize that our worth is not defined by our mistakes or the opinions of others, but by our ability to keep going, to learn, and to adapt. Every time we face self-doubt, we must remind ourselves of the times we've succeeded in the past, of the challenges we've overcome, and of the strength we've demonstrated in the face of adversity. These moments are proof that we are capable, that we have what it takes to achieve our dreams. One of the best ways to counter self-doubt is by taking small, consistent actions. When we feel doubt creeping in, we often freeze, thinking that we need to have everything figured out before we can move forward. But in reality, progress comes through doing, through taking imperfect action, through stepping into the unknown, even when we don't have all the answers. The more we take action, the more we build confidence in ourselves and our abilities. Each step we take, no matter how small, is a step away from doubt and closer to self-assurance. Another way to combat self-doubt is by surrounding ourselves with supportive people who believe in us. It's easy to doubt ourselves when we're isolated or when we only have negative voices around us. But when we have people who encourage us, who remind us of our strengths, and who cheer us on, it becomes easier to push through the self-doubt and keep moving forward. A support system is invaluable in reminding us that we are not alone in our struggles and that we are more capable than we give ourselves credit for. Self-doubt is a challenge we will all face at some point in our lives. It's part of the human experience, a natural response to stepping into the unknown, but it doesn't have to be the defining factor in our success. We don't need to eliminate self-doubt entirely to achieve our dreams. What we need to do is learn to recognize it for what it is, just a feeling. And feelings, no matter how strong, don't have to control us. When we acknowledge our self-doubt, but choose to take action anyway, we begin to break free from its grip. We begin to trust ourselves, to believe in our potential, and to step boldly toward the success we deserve. The third enemy, perfectionism. Perfectionism is a clever enemy. It convinces you that you're not ready, that you need to perfect every little detail before you take the first step. It makes you delay your dreams, constantly telling you not yet. But here's the thing, perfectionism doesn't exist. It's an illusion. You will never be fully prepared. You will never have everything figured out. Success comes when you take that imperfect step forward, knowing that you'll figure it out along the way. Perfectionism is one of the most elusive and dangerous enemies of success. It often masquerades as a desire for excellence, a commitment to doing things right, and a drive to be the best. But in reality, perfectionism is a trap, a cycle that keeps you stuck in a never-ending loop of overthinking, hesitation, and inaction. Perfectionism convinces you that unless you do something perfectly, it's not worth doing at all. It whispers that your best effort is never enough and that any imperfection is a failure. What perfectionism really does is hold you back from taking risks, from trying new things, and from making progress. At the root of perfectionism is the fear of making mistakes. It's the fear that if you do something imperfectly, you will be judged, criticized, or rejected. It's the fear that failure will expose your inadequacies, proving that you're not good enough. Perfectionism creates an unrealistic standard that no one can ever live up to. It makes you believe that success is only possible when everything is flawless, when every detail is meticulously planned and executed. But the reality is that perfection doesn't exist. No matter how hard you try, you will never be able to achieve perfection. The standards you set for yourself will always shift, leaving you constantly chasing something that's just out of reach. And in the process, you miss out on the opportunity to grow, to learn, and to truly succeed. Perfectionism leads to procrastination. When you are so focused on making sure everything is perfect, you freeze. You overthink every decision, second-guess every step, and hesitate to take action because you are afraid that it won't be good enough. You delay, you wait for the perfect moment, but that moment never comes. You spend so much time planning and replanning, hoping that you can get everything right, that you end up doing nothing at all. The fear of imperfection paralyzes you, preventing you from making progress. Instead of moving forward and learning from your mistakes, you stay in a constant state of preparation, waiting for everything to line up perfectly. The truth is, the only way to make progress is to take action, even if that action isn't flawless. Each step you take, even if it's imperfect, brings you closer to your goal. Perfectionism also leads to a lack of fulfillment. When you constantly chase after perfection, you can never truly be satisfied with what you accomplish. Every achievement feels like it falls short of your expectations, leaving you feeling disappointed and frustrated. You're always focused on what's missing or what could be improved, rather than appreciating the progress you've made. Perfectionism makes it hard to celebrate victories, no matter how big or small, because you're always looking ahead, thinking about the next task, the next challenge, the next thing to fix. It robs you of the joy and satisfaction that should come from pursuing your goals and achieving your dreams. Instead of feeling proud of your accomplishments, you feel like you've fallen short, trapped in an endless cycle of striving for something that can never be attained. One of the most dangerous aspects of perfectionism is that it makes you afraid of failure. Failure, in the eyes of a perfectionist, is the ultimate sign of inadequacy. It's proof that you're not good enough, that you failed to meet the impossibly high standards you've set for yourself. This fear of failure can prevent you from taking risks, trying new things, or stepping outside your comfort zone. You may hold back from pursuing opportunities, afraid that if you don't do everything perfectly, you'll embarrass yourself or let others down. But the truth is, failure is a natural and necessary part of success. Every successful person has failed at some point. Failure isn't a reflection of your worth or your ability, it's simply a part of the process. It's through failure that we learn, grow, and become better at what we do. Perfectionism prevents you from embracing failure as a learning experience, and in doing so, it prevents you from reaching your full potential. Another harmful effect of perfectionism is that it leads to burnout. When you try to do everything perfectly, you put immense pressure on yourself. You set unrealistic expectations, demand more of yourself than is humanly possible, and push yourself beyond your limits. This constant striving for perfection can leave you feeling exhausted, overwhelmed, and mentally drained. Instead of feeling energized by your work, you feel depleted, unable to keep up with the unrelenting demands you've placed on yourself. Burnout comes when perfectionism turns into a constant pursuit of more effort, more hours, more perfection, and no space for rest, reflection, or self-care. The pursuit of perfection can strip away the joy and passion you once had for your work, turning it into a never-ending grind. The antidote to perfectionism is progress. Instead of focusing on making everything perfect, focus on making progress. Understand that growth happens in the process, not in the end result.